I want to talk about mental health. I know I want to normalise conversations around it. It's really easy to talk about our physical health. We can go up to our colleagues and see that their arm is broken, and we can physically see that there's something wrong with them, and we kind of have a bit of understanding of how to support them in their illness. But when it comes to mental health, it's uncomfortable to talk about. No one really wants to acknowledge the weakness that's inside their mind, rather than a weakness that's a physical occurrence. Now, I went through a stage of severe or chronic depression. I don't think it's really called chronic depression anymore by the DHM, the big fancy book that the psychologists around the world put together. But it was pretty disabling. There were some days where I would wake up and would not have the motivation to really do anything. Even the smallest setback of some small disappointment would bring me to tears. I had no way to manage it, and it was just anything to escape and not feel this pain. I did volunteering as well, which sometimes helped at the stage, but even then sometimes I was numb to feeling any type of personal reward from volunteering. And I think a lot of people are obsessed with the why. They feel like there always has to be a reason for why you're a little bit sick in the head. It's how did that happen? And there might have been some triggers in my life, but they didn't really feel like they were substantial. They were pretty insignificant. I would actually say it probably has to do with a personality flaw that I have. So I've always had high expectations of myself. I come from a low socio-economic background, and I don't like saying that I come from a poor background, but basically no one in my family's been to uni. My dad dropped out of high school when he was in grade 8, 15 or whatnot. So I don't know where my expectations have come from, but I loved school, loved it so much. And then when I was halfway through university, I started failing some subjects after I came back on exchange from Sweden. And this is the first time I'd ever dealt with failure. And I'd spent nearly 20 years in school, so I kind of knew what I was doing. And I really enjoyed the learning process. That's what I love about being here at Tyro, constantly learning. But I was treated with mindfulness, and I was grateful that I wasn't diagnosed with a huge amount of drugs and whatnot, and I learned techniques to keep up with it. I'm not completely cured though. I don't think anyone ever is. I can still feel it sometimes. There's some days where it's hard to wake up and you can just feel it in the back of your mind, ready to pounce whenever it can grab its hold. But I just wanted to go over some statistics you might already be aware of. So I think it's 1 in 5 Australians will experience some sort of mental health issue in the last 12 months. There are nearly 7 attempts at suicide, actually 7 successful suicides every day in Australia, if you look at the statistics. And for every successful attempt, there's about 30 that don't succeed. So that's about 200 people a day in Australia considering, or at least attempting to take their own lives. I'm grateful that I was never really completely suicidal. Of course, we all fantasize about what might happen if we were no longer here. I think that's just human nature. But there are some people who they have no hope and feel like they need to take it further. Also, the gender rate with suicide. For every 1 female who commits suicide, there are 3 males out there who do the same thing, which I think is astonishing that we have that in our society right now. So what I would like is to start a conversation around mental health. Feel free to talk to me. There's also a Confluence page where we can spin off ideas, and maybe we can provide, Tyro could probably provide some outsourced counselling services. Thank you.